So I don't have no quarter on the table for this one. Is anybody else?
Stupidest scientist ever.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, we read that earlier about these. You wouldn't have.
I'll tell you, I saw this in the theater and I liked it enough to buy the Blu-ray.
Wow. Okay, there you go.
I haven't watched this in a while.
Right.
And while there are many things that I think are still really, really good, I think that for 2009 pre-Avatar CG, I think the effects are still look pretty flipping great.
I would read a whole Cinefex article on how they did Dren.
Yeah. I think that there's some really good shit there. I do know that, you know, I think I brought up when we watched the first Planet of the Apes movie that I compared James Franco's scientist to Adrian Brody's scientist in this and said, that's more like, I think that what they should have done. I might be taking that back a little bit.
They're two of a kind.
Back to, you know, like good actors delivering shitty dialogue. This movie, these are two of the dumbest fucking scientists I've ever seen in a movie.
Right.
Well, I get it. If they didn't make these consistently idiotic and nonsensical decisions, maybe we wouldn't have a movie. But by the time he's sleeping with his bat-winged amphibian offspring, I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Well, they do bracket that by saying that there's part of Sarah Polley's character in her.
Sure, whatever.
I know. Thank you.
That makes it okay.
The response is sure, whatever.
Like Woody Allen
This
marrying
movie,
Sunya.
This movie.
Thank you.
Classy Roger Corman.
I am not making excuses for this film. This is just a good horror film.
Classy Roger Corman. It makes about as much sense as a Roger, but you know, through the, you know, once again, classy grindhouse filter, like
they Cronenberg this shit. This is a Cronenberg film. They Cronenberg the shit out of this film.
Oh, it's definitely going in that territory intentionally.
It's also as Canadian as your average.
Yes, exactly right. It's very Canadian. It's the whole.
Right. I think we talked about it when this movie came out, and I was pretty like, what a dumb movie. But now it's like you got to embrace that a little, the B moviness of it, because. God damn, I kind of liked it more this time around.
Oh, why not? It's just it is what it is.
It is what it is, and it does what it's supposed to do, I think.
And
also, there's a subtle horror in this film that Dren, her eyes are a little too far apart.
A little.
A lot. But either way,
her pupils are like
excellent. I know.
Like a goat.
It's subtle, but god damn, it's effective.
I mean this is bio horror, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Big time.
And to me, it's like this movie. They made a creature that's partly human. It's got some human, some animal DNA, and they did a great job visually of creating that. And the more she grows up, and the more human she looks, the more uncomfortable you get with how they're treating her.
Yes,
and what's happening. And
it's the empathy gap, right?
This is the thematic thrust,
uncanny valley.
And like Chris said, by the time you get to the point where Adrian Brody fucks the thing that he made in the lab, you're like, and that's the movie working. This is what we paid to see, man. It's like, I want to be made uncomfortable, and you're getting your.
It's just the strength of pheromones.
Actually, they should have brought that up, because actually would have been a great explanation of what the hell happened there, because it's like. Otherwise, it's like, no, you don't screw your experiments. It doesn't make any sense.
I was rolling my eyes so fucking hard. At that point, I was just like,
I mean, me too, Tad. The first time I saw it, I mean, you kind of have to this is one of those buy the premise, buy the movie things, right, Scott?
Yeah. And I
either go with it or you don't.
Yes.
I don't.
You don't.
Okay.
I think the biggest problem is Adrian Brody. I don't think he can carry this movie.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Well,
which is weird from the guy who carries the pianist.
Yeah, it's not, and I normally think he's a pretty good actor. I think he's horribly miscast in this movie, and I don't think he can carry the dialogue. Like they should have gotten a worse actor. They should have gotten they
needed a William Shatner.
Right. Well, I was gonna say they need like a Star Trek guest star level actor. Like this should be like a Matt Frewer or something like that, because those kinds of B-movie actors know how to sell this stupid fucking dialogue, and he does not, because
this is the exact James Franco thing with Planet of the Apes.
Right.
Yes. Well, and again, at the time I thought, well, Franco did not do as good a job as Brody did. But
what was Jared's line? Like, The M13 isn't ready yet. Or something like that.
No, and then the like, I don't know whether it was his choice of the directors, but like the AMC Gremlin, the weird clothing choice, like he's a little. It's like
the Gremlin thing was like that was just
hipster.
The hipster stuff was so annoying.
It was.
So
having worked a long time in tech, that all rang true. I really love the CEO, the French CEO that comes in from nowhere.
This film is actually pretty powerfully Canadian in a lot of ways.
And they're shitty, and their shitty apartment that they live in, like
with the anime guy on the wall,
right? With the anime guy on the wall.
Exactly.
So I missed the director credit when I was watching this. I just like turned my head or something, and I didn't see or I was paying attention to what was going on in the background instead of what was going on in the foreground or whatever.
He made one of your favorite movies,
and I'm sitting there thinking while I'm watching this, why does this feel like Cube? Like
it is. That was his first movie.
Yes.
Well, but I literally had to pause the movie and be like, "Who the fuck directed this?" And I go and I look, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like
it's a Q guy. Yes.
Okay, specifically, Ted, what makes you think of Cube when you watch this movie?
How fucking Canadian it is. Like, there's something about it. Also the way he shoots. Like I think he shoots in a very specific way. There's a way he builds tension that I think he does the same thing in Cube. Like there is something, even though Cube all takes place in a big metal box or several big metal boxes, it is powerfully Canadian. And this movie has that same powerfully Canadian energy. And also, again, there were just little things about it, because I've seen that movie, I don't know, 7 or 8 times at this point, where it's not good. I might pick it one day, but it's not good.
Yeah,
it is and it isn't. Kind of like this movie.
Right. But the thing about that movie that I think he did right, that he didn't do right in this movie, is he picked B-movie actors. Like
because that's all he could afford.
Yes. Right. The little bit of success that he got out of that allowed him to cast Sarah Polley and
thank you.
And Adrian Brody.
Where's my Mexican flag?
Oh, Canada.
Well, Sarah Polley was on top of the heap back then. She was in a bunch of American films. She was like the hottest Canadian actor there was.
Right.
I went looking.
It was a coup for him.
I went looking in the IMDb
screenshot
about them fighting over this. Like at any point during the making of this movie, did either Polley or Brody like grab the direction? You can't make me say this shit.
Doesn't seem like it. No,
there's not. And I guess I would argue they're doing the best they can with this dialogue.
Well, this goes back to that IMDb.
Right, but the best they can with that dialogue is not as good as someone who's used to saying shit like this all the time. Yeah. Like one of the people in Cube ends up playing Ezri Dax on Deep Space Nine. Like
that's perfect. Right?
Yes. So Ted, you're making this interesting argument that you think this film needs a kind of a talent downgrade to make it more effective. I think that's actually kind of a good idea, because there are lots of horror films that have actors way above their pay grade in them,
and a lot of them are bad.
Yeah, but they're usually at the end of their career.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you just want to.
Sometimes not. Like, what was that Harrison Ford movie with Michelle Pfeiffer, and there was a bathtub, and they were in a haunted house?
Beneath.
Oh, yeah. What Lies Beneath? Yeah,
that was one where it was just like, these guys are movie stars. This isn't happening to them.
Yeah. That was just, that film was just a time waster between the 2 segments they were shooting Castaway. Spielberg got I think it was Spielberg. No, it was Zemeckis got together a crew to shoot the first half of the film. Then they had the crew, and they actually had to wait for Tom Hanks to either gain or lose weight. I can't remember which one.
Yeah,
beard.
We have this crew. Let's go up to New England and shoot this little horror film while Tom Hanks gets ready for the second half of the film.
I like it.
That's why it exists, basically. Yeah.
And he went through his Rolodex and he was like, "Who isn't working right now?"
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Again,
as a low budget horror film, I think, or medium budget, whatever, or Canadian horror film, I think it works fine.
Budget horror movie.
Yeah,
Canadian budget.
No, I can't.
There's a lot of body horror in this thing. That's what you're looking. You're buying the body horror. There's tons of it.
Mm-hmm. I love Cronenberg too much to dunk on it because it's so obviously influenced by him.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I think the effects are great. It's creepy. There's some great set pieces. I think it's well shot.
It is well shot.
Photography is good.
All of it transcends its dumbness. But I mean, again, like you watch Humanoids from the Deep, or like any fucking horror Corman movie from the late 70s, early 80s, they're all this dumb. They just look a lot cheaper.
Yeah, that's true. Right. And actually, the very ending of the film, which I won't spoil, is a big needle drop, I think. Or was it too expected? What do you think?
Oh no, I just like, oh come on, really? Are you?
Well, it's kind of like
after everything you've been through, you're going to do this.
It's not a surprise, but it's the right ending.
That's what.
Yes,
these guys. These times are so dumb. This is how it would end. You know what I mean?
I mean,
I grew back my stinger is really stupid.
Well, there's that, but I mean, like after every terrible decision she's made during the course of this movie, he manages to make an even worse one at the end. Like, what do you think's going to happen when that thing decides to claw its way out?
I think that's a pretty good ending. And she says, "What's the worst that could happen?"
It's just like, okay, this is supposed to be funny. Okay,
it's consistent. It's consistent.
Right. It's like the Fly 2. We know what's going to happen.
I mean,
you know what's great is neither of these movies, because we're going to talk about Upgrade in a minute. But these are both movies I really enjoyed, and I'm kind of glad that although they left the door open for one, there are no sequels.
Yeah.
Well, hold that thought.
There's supposed to be one for Splice.
Oh my God, no!
Show out of Upgrade.
Ah, crap.
I'm not kidding.
Well.
I really hope it's the Incredible Hulk. He just goes from town to town fucking somebody up every week.
Or solving people's problems. We don't know.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good enough. I don't know if this is where we're split out now, but I think we might be. So what do you think?
I mean,
it gets a little bit, the running through the woods stuff at the end is like, okay, I guess we got to have this bit.
Actors keep looking up.
It's mercifully short.
I think some of that's budgetary too. I think it's like, oh shit, we're running out of money. What's cheap? The woods.
All the effects are.
It doesn't work very well. The camera work is poor.
Yeah, and
you know, it's been so locked down through most of it, and making that camera dynamic didn't work.
Right.
Not really.
I mean, this movie takes place on what, 3 sets basically, right?
Yeah, the barn and the
barn,
lab.
the lab, and like some version of
apartment, I think, or something like that. Yeah,
with the exception
pretty much.
This thing, which is again where I like, this goes just completely into Cronenberg. Like, let's just put about 17 gallons more blood. Than was
there's two angry things. These 2 angry balls of snot in this big box, right?
With about
dick-shaped balls of snot.
Yeah, that was my favorite scene.
That's funny, Jim, because that was the scene where Sheila said, "Oh fuck, this is stupid."
Actually, I take it with Chris saying this is where it Cronenberged out. It was it is
big time.
It hit 10
and it wasn't even real Cronenberg. It was it's Rick and Morty Cronenberg.
Exploding head and scanners.
Yeah,
completely.
Well,
Rick and Morty is aware of that too, because they had the episode where they're like, everybody got Cronenberged on this planet.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. The whole planet is Cronenberg.
No, but I mean, you got like literally, there's so much blood that comes out of these 2. It's like 4.5 times their body mass in blood, and
it's like the alien. The alien.
Well, you know, scanners, when the guy's head blew up, there was like 5 gallons of blood in his head. So it's a very maybe too much blood to Canadian thing. Who knows?
It's like how much slime is inside.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. You know, I fucked up, so I enjoy it. I laugh. I think it's great. I mean,
well, I picked it because it's just a quintessential nice.
Oh no, I think
2000s horror film. You know, it's like it's got some intriguing ideas, but it's kind of stupid too. So it's fun. Yeah.
This is the only time the worms look good too. The other parts of this scene, they don't look good, and especially at the beginning where they're picking it up and holding it.
Pretty CGI there, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the narration's hilarious.
Does anybody remember the
eternal dance of love or whatever the fuck she was saying?
Oh, right. She says, yeah.
Right. That's a good fucking joke. That part is a good joke.
Go back and watch the scene in The Fly where Gina Davis has a nightmare about giving birth, and what comes out
Lord,
exactly like these things.
Yes, I think a big maggot out of her. I was like, that was not good, man. That was not good. All right,
Jerry, we're just wrapping up. You got anything to say about Splice?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. It's all you, man.
Yeah, I hated this fucking movie so much.
What?
Oh my God, this is a terrible, terrible, terrible movie. Let me see.
He's got notes.
I've got just a few. Okay. Okay. Just here's off the top. I hate this filmmaker style so much. The lighting, the set design, the giant anime poster in their bedroom, the fashion, the hairstyles. I also kind of in general hate these like scientific experiment movies. Every once in a while they're done well, but typically this is a pretty formulaic thing and it's really stupid. I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit when she called him Dren for the first time.
It's nerd backwards.
That was the dumbest motherfucking
It's like
writing
Nedry
I've
in,
ever fucking seen.
Jurassic Park.
At first I was pissed off that they had a clothed sex scene, but then they made up for that later. And then all of a sudden it became like it's everything. It's amphibious, it can fly, it's just evolving into like.
Well, hold on. I did look, and apparently this thing is a combination of stingray. I wrote. Okay, so it's
Really?
it's
Oh, because of the stinger. Okay.
It's like
The
five-
stinger thing.
apparently, if you're paying attention, you will see that it is a combination of salamander, kangaroo,
the dog is
bird,
trapped in here with
fish, horse, and stingray.
Also, I was like,
Sarah Paul.
And Sarah Pauli.
and when I was watching this, I was like, Hollywood, how are you going to do Anya Taylor-Joy that way? That ain't cool. But yeah, I think this is really terrible. I think this time period for filmmaking wasn't super great, at least not in America. Well, that's not true. But this guy, whoever this guy is, Cube, and then he did other stuff.
TV.
Yeah, I think I just think his style comes through, and I hate it. And he may be a nice dude, but your style is not mine. And this fucking
You're
movie is
making me
trash.
like this movie more and more, Jay. Keep talking.
We haven't heard Jim's corner yet.
Blame Canada.
Yeah, blame Canada. Yeah, I liked it at the beginning, and then my mind was wandering. I watched both these films today, so it took a lot of time off in between scenes. I don't know, wandered outside.
I don't like the character design much either, but anyway.
Yeah.
All right,
I
well,
liked
I don't think
her.
it's- I don't think it's great.
Before she turns into a boy, although I thought she should have had a horse cock since she's part of
I
horse.
thought I remembered
Well,
her
that
having a
would've been
big old
cool,
thong
but
hanging
that's-
down, Jim.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed that we didn't.
That's tail.
Yeah,
I
just
know.
a tail.
Still, it's pretty,
Just
fairly
Prehensile tail.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
with a
All right.
stinger in it.
Yeah.
All right,
The
well,
second
it's-
stinger after the first stinger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not defending this film. It's just a fine little weird little
I
horror film. From the
It's one of
2000s.
those movies for the masses that whoever the mass is for this movie, I'm not
This
one of
movie
them.
made like no money.
Right.
Yeah, but it's
No, it
trying to
was
be.
a
It's trying to be though.
commercial
And
flop.
It's trying to be.
I saw this in a theater too. So
I
it's like,
did
what the
too.
hell?
I did
Yeah.
too.
I ran right out to go see this.
I know.
I
but
saw
same
this
here,
in the
exactly.
exact same
See, there you
theater.
go. There you
I saw
go.
Never
this in
heard
the-
of it.
I saw it in the exact same theater I saw Hot Tub Time Machine in.
Oh.
I like that movie a lot
Second-
better than
The
this. one.
second run theater.
Okay. All right. Thumbs.
I'm still
I still like it.
It's dumb.
like it
Huge
more.
thumbs down.
I think it's
Huge
fine.
thumbs down.
Okay. There we
Like
go.
gigantic.
All
Like
over the,
more
all over the
than.
map on that one. All right.
Jared is wrong.
Refill your
Jared is most often
I'm
wrong.
as an indie filmmaker, I'm like offended by this fucking movie.
This
Like
movie is
so
the worst
much.
thing offended by.
Because
it's not working.
because this
With-
guy was once an
With
indie
that, I'm gonna
filmmaker
have to
and,
give it a
and-
thumbs
and-
up.
Yeah, right.
Hey, someone threw some money at this guy. Canadian dollars, but they're still dollars, right?
Hey, it's still 75 cents on the dollar, man.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not too bad.